Unit 5, Brokerage Activities and Procedure. Escrow adds commissions offices. Hi, I'm Anisha, your AI study partner with License to Learn. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, License Closet, for supporting this video. License Closet offers an affordable way to hang your real estate license for just $149.99 per year, with no MLS required. This is a great option for agents who want to stay active, keep learning, and build at their own pace. You'll find the link below. This video is for educational purposes only. Florida real estate laws, rules, and procedures can change, so always verify current requirements through official Florida sources before relying on this information. This content is Florida specific and is a study guide, not a substitute for completing a state-approved course. Now, let's get into today's lesson. Welcome back. Unit 5 is where real estate stops feeling like vocabulary words and starts feeling like a real business. Think of a brokerage like it has 3 control rooms. 1, the office where the business lives. 2, advertising, how the public finds you. 3, escrow, where other people's money sits while everyone behaves. On the Florida State exam, Unit 5 questions usually test one thing. Do you know the rules that protect the public, especially money handling and truthful advertising? Today we're covering office versus branch office rules, trade names and team advertising rules, what unlicensed assistants can and cannot do, advertising rules, especially online ads, escrow deposits, who holds them and the deadlines, escrow disputes, what the broker must do and when, quick mindset. Florida does not play about escrow money or misleading ads. Those are license risk topics. Pause and answer this. What are the 3 control rooms? Answer: office, advertising, and escrow. Let's start with the office. A broker must maintain an office and an entrance sign that identifies the brokerage to the public. Florida law is very direct about this. The broker maintains the office and signage requirements. Now here's the exam twist. A branch office is any additional place of business where the brokerage conducts business, and it must be registered as a branch office with a fee. So the exam might ask, if a broker opens a second location in another part of town, what must happen? Answer: register it as a branch office and pay the branch fee. The statute caps the fee amount. Also, your sales associates are tied to the broker's registered office locations. Florida's office rule requires that associates work out of the registered office maintained and registered in the broker's name. Now, Florida also talks about temporary shelters. The branch office rule explains that a temporary shelter used for sales can become a branch office if the public interest requires it, especially when it functions like a real business location. Pause and answer. If you conduct business from more than one office, what must each additional office be? Answer: a registered branch office. Now, trade names. A trade name is basically the stage name of the brokerage, what the public sees. Florida's rules require trade names to be properly disclosed, registered at the real estate licensing level. And official guidance also points out that you may have separate state fictitious name filing requirements. Exam style question. Can a branch office use a different name than the main brokerage? No. Answer: no. Official Florida guidance says branch offices can only have the same name as the main location license. Now, the deadline that sneaks onto exams: changing employers. If a sales associate changes employer, Florida law says the license ceases to be in force unless the change is properly reported. Notify the commission within 10 days on the required form. Pause and answer. How many days do you have to notify after a sales associate changes employer? Answer: 10 days. This part is a trap section because it feels common sense, but Florida tests it. Unlicensed assistants can do administrative support, think paperwork, scheduling, and logistics. Florida has an official permissible activities list for unlicensed assistants. Safe examples they can do: type and file documents, schedule appointments, put up signs, remove signs as directed, assemble listing packets and data. What they cannot do is anything that looks like licensed real estate activity, meaning no showings, no explaining contract terms, no negotiating, no advice to the public that requires a license. Pause and answer. Can an unlicensed assistant show property if the buyer says, "We just want to look"? Answer: no. Showings are licensed activity. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's preparing for the Florida real estate exam. If this lesson helped you, that tells me I'm doing my job. And if you're ready for more structured support, live instruction, and accountability, you're invited to join our online classes through License to Learn. You'll find the sign up link below. Keep showing up, keep studying, and keep building the future you're working toward. I'll see you in the next lesson. Florida laws and rules can change. Verify the most current requirements through the Florida statutes, Florida Administrative Code, DBPR, and the Florida Real Estate Commission. Advertising is the brokerage's megaphone. Florida's rule says advertising must not be misleading and must make it clear the public is dealing with a real estate licensee. Now, the biggest exam trigger phrase: blind ad. A blind ad is an ad that hides the fact that it's placed by a licensee or fails to clearly identify the brokerage. Florida wants transparency so the public knows who they're dealing with. Online ads get tested a lot. Florida's advertising rule includes a specific requirement for internet advertising. The brokerage's license name must be adjacent to, immediately above, or immediately below the point of contact information, like a phone number, email, or link. Pause and answer. On an Instagram ad with your phone number, where must the brokerage's license name appear? Answer: right next to the contact info, adjacent, immediately above, or immediately below. Teams are another exam trap. Florida defines team group advertising as a name or logo used by one or more licensees presenting themselves as a team under the same broker. Key requirements. Florida tests. The team must designate a licensee responsible for compliance. The broker must keep a current written record of team members at least monthly. The team name cannot include certain words that make the team sound like a separate brokerage, like real estate, realty, LLC, company, brokerage, and more. Team name cannot be in larger print than the brokerage name or logo in ads. Pause and answer. Can a team name include the word realty or real estate? Answer: no, those are specifically prohibited for team group names. Escrow is the vault. If you remember nothing else from Unit 5, remember the deadlines. Florida defines immediately for depositing escrow funds, no later than the end of the third business day following receipt. Weekends and legal holidays do not count as business days. If a sales associate receives escrow money, the rule requires delivery to the broker no later than the end of the next business day. A broker can place limited personal brokerage funds in escrow accounts only within strict limits, commonly tested, up to $1,000 per sales escrow account and up to $5,000 per property management escrow account, with a cap on personal brokerage funds per account. Also, the escrow account must be in a permitted Florida financial institution type as defined by rule. Pause and answer. Florida says immediately means what in business days? Answer: by end of the third business day after receipt. Now the 3 money crimes tested in different disguises. Commingling, mixing escrow funds with personal business funds, not allowed except the limited rule amounts. Conversion, spending escrow money or using it for any purpose, not allowed. Failure to account and deliver, not producing or delivering escrow funds when required. Escrow disputes. Florida expects the broker to act fast and follow the procedure. When there are conflicting demands or a good faith doubt about who should receive the deposit, the broker must give the required notice to the Florida Real Estate Commission within 15 business days of the last demand. Then the broker must begin an authorized settlement procedure within 30 business days. The official process includes options like requesting an escrow disbursement order, arbitration, if both parties agree, or seeking a court determination, interpleader. Now, quick commercial only concept, the Florida Commercial Real Estate Sales Commission Line Act. This is not a lien on the property itself. It's a lien against the owner's net proceeds, and it requires specific written notice steps and deadlines, including delivery timing tied to when the commission is earned and before closing. Rapid exam drill. Answer out loud. If a sales associate changes employer, how long to notify? Answer, 10 days. Immediately deposit escrow means what? Answer, by end of the third business day. Sales associate must deliver escrow to broker by when? Answer, end of the next business day. Team name can include realty. Answer, no. Internet ad. Where must brokerage name be relative to contact info? Answer, adjacent or immediately above, below. Quick recap. Unit 5 is office rules, truthful advertising, allowed assistant tasks, and escrow deadlines, plus what to do when escrow gets disputed. Welcome to Key Terms, where we turn real estate words into real estate understanding. Let's begin. Unit 5 Key Terms, brokerage activities and procedures. Unit 5 is the How the Business Runs unit. On the exam, this is where questions sound like, who can do this task? Is this ad legal? Where does the deposit go? What's the deadline? 3 buckets to remember. 1. The office rules, where business is conducted. 2. The public-facing rules, advertising and team names. 3. The money rules, escrow deadlines and escrow disputes. Pause and answer with the answer, what are the 3 buckets? Answer, office rules, advertising rules, and escrow rules. Key term, active broker office. Florida requires each active broker to maintain an office, at least one enclosed room, and a sign at the entrance of the principal office and each branch office. Key term, entrance sign. The sign must be easily observed, read by someone about to enter. It identifies who the public is dealing with. Key term, principal office, the main registered business location of the broker. Key term, branch office. Any additional place of business where brokerage business is conducted must be registered as a branch office and the fee paid. Key term, temporary shelter. A temporary shelter on a subdivision used to protect staff customers where transactions are not closed and salespeople are not permanently assigned is not treated as a branch office. Pause and answer with the answer. If a broker conducts business from more than one office, what must each additional office be? Answer, a registered branch office. Key term, registered employer. A sales associate may only work for a registered employer, the broker. You are plugged into the broker's business, not running your own independent shop. Key term, change of employer. If a sales associate changes employer, the license must be properly updated. Florida law says the license ceases to be enforced if the change is not handled correctly. Key term, 10-day notice rule. The licensee must notify the commission no later than 10 days after a change of employer or certain address changes using the required form. Pause and answer with the answer, how many days do you have to notify after a sales associate changes employer? Answer, 10 days. Key term, trade name, also called DBA, fictitious name in everyday talk. A trade name is the business public name a broker operates under, separate from the broker's personal name or the brokerage's registered legal name. Key term, trade name on license records. Florida requires the trade name to be noted in the commission's records and placed on the license before operating under that trade name. Key term, branch office name. A branch office cannot use a different name than the main brokerage name shown on the license. Pause and answer with the answer. Can a branch office use a different name than the main office? Answer, no. Key term, advertising, general rule. All advertising must make it clear the public is dealing with a real estate licensee, must include the licensed name of the brokerage firm, and must not be fraudulent, false, deceptive, or misleading. Key term, blind advertisement. A blind ad hides that it's placed by a licensee or fails to properly identify the brokerage. If the public can't tell who they're dealing with, that's a problem. Key term, licensed name of the brokerage. The name registered with the Florida Real Estate Commission is the name that must appear as required. Pause and answer with the answer. What's the big problem with a blind ad? Answer, it hides the brokerage licensee identity, so the public can't clearly tell who they're dealing with. Key term, point of contact information, internet advertising. Point of contact info includes any way to contact the brokerage or licensee, phone, email, address, links, and similar contact methods. Key term, internet advertising placement rule. When advertising online, the brokerage firm name must be placed adjacent to, immediately above, or immediately below the point of contact information. Example, if your Instagram ad shows a phone number, the brokerage name has to be right next to it or immediately above, below it. Pause and answer with the answer. On an online ad, where must the brokerage name appear relative to the contact info? Answer, adjacent to, immediately above, or immediately below the contact info. Key term, team or group advertising. A team is a name or logo used by one or more licensees who present themselves to the public as a team under the same broker. Key term, responsible licensee. The team must designate at least one licensee responsible for team advertising compliance. Key term, broker's monthly team roster. At least once monthly, the broker must maintain a current written record of each team's members. Key term, prohibited team words. Team names cannot include words that make the team sound like a separate brokerage, CHOTS company. Examples include words like real estate and realty, among others. Key term, font size rule. In team ads, the team name cannot be in larger print than the registered brokerage name. Pause and answer with the answer. Can a team name include realty or real estate? Answer, no. Key term, unlicensed assistant support staff who are not licensed. They can do admin type work but cannot perform licensed real estate services. Permitted examples, safe zone, answer phones and forward calls, schedule appointments, prepare documents for approval, deliver documents as a courier, place signs and lockboxes as directed, not permitted, license only zone, showing property, explaining or interpreting contracts, negotiating terms, providing opinions on price value as a substitute for a licensee's work. Pause and answer with the answer. Can an unlicensed assistant show property if the buyer says, "We just want to look"? Answer, no. Key term, escrow, trust funds. Money held by a neutral holder until the transaction terms are met. In real estate, think deposits and other trust funds. Key term, deposit, earnest money, a good faith amount given to support an offer. Florida tests who must receive it and the deadlines. Key term, immediately. Florida definition. Immediately means the deposit must be placed in the escrow account no later than the end of the third business day after receipt. Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays are not business days. Key term, associate delivery deadline. If a sales associate receives a deposit, they must deliver it to the broker by the end of the next business day. Key term, commingling versus conversion. Commingling Mixing trust funds with personal business funds. Not allowed, except limited, permitted amounts. Conversion. Using trust funds for personal business purposes. Very serious. Pause and answer with the answer. Florida says immediately means deposit by when? Answer. No later than the end of the third business day after receipt. Pause and answer with the answer. If a sales associate receives the deposit, when must it be delivered to the broker? Answer. By the end of the next business day. Key term. Escrow dispute. Conflicting demands. Good faith doubt. This happens when the broker has conflicting demands for the deposit, or the broker has a good faith doubt about who is entitled to it. Key term, 15 business day notice. The broker must notify the Florida Real Estate Commission in writing within 15 business days. Timing depends on whether it's last demand or good faith doubt. Key term, 30 business day action rule. The broker must begin an authorized settlement procedure within 30 business days. Key term, settlement procedures, exam favorites. Escrow disbursement order, arbitration with all parties' consent. Court action, interpleader. Mediation with written consent with timing requirements. Key term, records retention in 5 years. Brokers must preserve at least one legible copy of brokerage records for at least 5 years based on the transaction timeline rules in the statute. Rapid drill, answer out loud with answers. 1. Associate deposit delivery deadline. Answer, end of the next business day. 2. Broker immediately deposit deadline. Answer, end of the third business day. 3. Team name can be bigger than brokerage name. Answer, no. 4. Online ad brokerage name placement relative to contact info. Answer, adjacent or immediately above, below. 5. Broker records retention. Answer, at least 5 years. Florida laws and rules can change. Verify the most current requirements through the Florida statutes, Florida Administrative Code, DBPR, and the Florida Real Estate Commission. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who's preparing for the Florida real estate exam. If this lesson helped you, that tells me I'm doing my job. And if you're ready for more structured support, live instruction, and accountability, you're invited to join our online classes through License to Learn. You'll find the sign up link below. Keep showing up, keep studying, and keep building the future you're working toward. I'll see you in the next lesson.